I'm the president of StFX University. It's my pleasure to be hosting you tonight with the Students' Union President, Sarah Elliott. And I'll get Sarah to introduce her team. Sarah, could you kick off with the introductions, please?
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm the president of the StFX Students' Union. And we have a couple of our exec team members with us tonight. So we have Bradley Van Dam, who's our Vice President, External Affairs. We have I almost called him Jake. We have Jack Irvin, who is our Vice President, Residence Affairs. We have Keelan Pilgrim, who's laughing at me. He's our Vice President, Activities and Events. We have Patty Wallace, who's our Vice President, Finance and Operations. And joining us in just a few minutes is Siobhan Lacey, who is our Vice President, Academic.
Thank you, Sarah, and thanks for co-hosting with me tonight. I'll introduce the admin team to you all from StFX. Tonight we have Elizabeth Yeo, our Vice President Students. We have Murray Kite, our Vice President of Advancement. We have Andrew Beckett, who was our Vice President of Finance and Administration. And we have Dr. Kevin Walmsley, who is our Academic Vice President and Provost. So before we get underway, just a few ground rules I'd like to sort of put out for everyone so we understand how we're going to sort of move through this session that will last 1 hour till 8 p.m. Antigonish time. And I'll start by saying that if you have questions, please use the question and answer function on Zoom rather than the chat function. That's the one we're looking at, so please use that question and answer function. So please hold your questions until we've gone through this sort of first part of our discussion here. And, you know, I'm going to talk about how we got the MOU. Sarah's going to jump in and talk from her perspective how we got there. And then I'm going to ask our VP students, Elizabeth Yeo, to talk a little bit more in detail about that MOU and what it contains and why it's such an important document that we've co-created with our Students' Union colleagues. So with that, ground rules set. We have our moderator tonight, and that will be Mary Jessie McClellan. Mary Jessie will take the questions and then feed them up to the panelists, and then Sarah and I will direct the questions appropriately to those we think are best suited, if we can't answer them ourselves, best suited to answer the questions for you. So looking forward to tonight, and keep the questions coming in, please. So how did we get here? Why do we want to talk about an MOU? Memorandum of Understanding. It's an important document, and it now is forming part of our overall strategy of welcoming students back to campus. How did we get there? Well, back on July the 10th, we sent out 2 documents. And we, being the administration of the university, we sent out a COVID-19 waiver and we sent out a code of conduct. Now, we caught people off guard, especially with the waiver. And the communication around it wasn't the best. And so we apologized for that. And we recognized that we had to go back and find a way to regain the trust of the student community with what we were able to do and commit to in order to have a safe environment for students. So we talked to our Students' Union colleagues. We listened to everyone around us. But mostly we worked with the Students' Union to produce and co-create a document that basically sets out the commitments of both administration and the Students' Union to create that safe environment. And Elizabeth is going to talk to you a little bit about that in a few moments. It's an important document. It's a trust builder. It's an accountability document. It's a document that says, waivers in place, we understand that, but what are we going to do to ensure we won't shy away from doing the right things? Waiver never would absolve us of our responsibilities to create that safe campus, but we wanted to cement our commitment to doing that in a more tangible, easily read form. That is the MOU. So, as I speak to you tonight, I can confirm to you that the waiver is indeed in place and has been affirmed by the board. And you'll get further communication about that in the days ahead. We anticipate that you'll receive on August the 4th more communication about the waiver and, importantly, With that, we hope to provide you with the signed off MOU from Sarah and myself. Really looking forward to that. But before we continue, I think it's only right that I hand it over to my co-creation partner in this one, Sarah. Words on the MOU.
Hi, everyone. So when we created this, the Students' Union wanted to ensure that both the students and the university would be held accountable to ensure that we have a safe campus this year. Due to the original lack of consultation with the waiver, the Memorandum of Understanding was created totally in collaboration with the administration and the StFX Students' Union. We wanted this so it could be made specifically from the many student concerns that were raised during this process. We have tried to add everything possible that will make every student feel safe and comfortable to return to campus in the falls. And I do want to reiterate that this MOU is not done, and anything that you folks want to say can be in a Q&A, in an email to me, or an email to any of our executives. We want the MOU to cover everything that every student has committed to, as well as the university has committed to, so that every student has the autonomy to make an informed choice when they decide what's right for them. We really wanted a documentation that held both parties accountable and that we had for the whole year.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That's brilliant. Just want to say, as we go into these very unusual times, there's a responsibility being placed on all of us. The responsibility is to do the right thing for yourself and for everyone else around you. We live in a very small community. Population of Antigonish doubles when our students return. It is so important that we look after each other and we look after our neighbours. We all have to be accountable as we move forward. The MOU gives our commitments, but when you look at things like the Code of Conduct, it asks you as incoming students to participate in that connection to the community and to the university by doing your best to uphold all the safety elements that you can. Let me be clear. This is not a usual time. This is not a simple cold or virus that's going around. We all know that. We've all suffered through this long period of dealing with COVID-19 in our various communities across the country. We've all felt it. It's horribly tough on everyone. But let's get this right. In opening up this province, we need you to be with us as we go forward with this. Our community needs you to do the right things. So we're looking forward to having you back, but let's all come together to do the right things. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Elizabeth, who will give you an overview of our MOU. Elizabeth.
Hello, everyone. So as Andy said, I'm going to give a high-level introduction to the MOU that we've been working through. And it provides a pretty concise overview of the work that StFX has been doing over the past months to prepare for a healthy and safe environment. So we are excited to welcome you back to campus. And I understand that it is challenging to really imagine what the campus is going to be like and what that will look like for you personally. So we're really pleased that you've taken the time to join us this evening so that we can answer your questions and also take this time to learn more about what's important to you as you get ready to return to the campus. So about the MOU, the MOU begins with principles that we, all of us at StFX, followed as we created the various return to campus plans, those really detailed ones that are on the website. And we will continue to follow these principles as we respond to your needs through the pandemic. So some of those principles include things like a commitment to dialogue and providing a variety of ways to communicate with you. We recognize that we need to use multiple approaches, and we will be actively partnering with the student union to reach you with the detailed information that you need. Throughout the year to come, throughout the creation of these plans and through the year to come, we will take direction from public health. So they provide the guidelines for us to set up a sound prevention approach that's going to prevent the introduction of COVID to the community as much as possible. And we will also be continuing to collaborate with Public Health and Nova Scotia Health to set in place the measures so that we can respond quickly when someone does become ill, so that we can care for them as well as address community spread. Another principle is that we will be working to provide the supports that students need to be successful. And this is a number of things. This includes setting up and supporting you to follow the new health and safety approaches, things like wearing masks, both on and off campus, physical distancing, supporting frequent hand washing and sanitization, and supporting you to self-monitor your own symptoms. We have also provided a variety of student services through student consultation. So some of you may recall back in April, we, in collaboration with the student union, hosted a survey to give input about the supports you need. And over 900 of you responded to that survey, truly a very remarkable response rate. So we heard a lot about the supports that you prioritized, and we listened and we've acted on those requests. For example, you will be able to access new services this fall to access mental health supports and stress reduction. And you will also have access to approaches that will enable you to access student services in our programs virtually as well. So those are just some of the things, and we'll be keeping you informed of how we have responded with student supports and programming as we draw closer to the fall. The MOU also includes a commitment to working with students who have individual needs, and in particular, those of you who have health circumstances. So finally, the MOU contains a section of a summary of what we are asking of you. And there's a number of points there that I won't get into, but when you take all of those points together, really what we are asking of you is a commitment to live the Xaverian values of community and of service. And these values are fundamental to what it means to be a Xaverian. So if you do choose to come to campus this fall, you will need to be ready to manage your own health and safety in ways that you've never needed to before. So we will be needing you to step up and do that. And you'll also need to be ready to care deeply for the health and the safety of your community. And it's a serious responsibility that you're undertaking. We're committed to help you. We'll provide training, we'll provide reminders, posters, signage. We will help you to find ways to socialize safely and have fun and work toward your goals, your academic goals and your extracurricular goals. There's no question that it will be different this fall, but what's not going to change is the StFX spirit and the care with which we will welcome you back to campus. And we believe that if we could all commit to these protocols, we can be successful in creating a healthy and safe community together. So that's an overview of the MOU, and I hope that you will take time to read it. And in the meantime, tonight, we're all pleased to take some time to answer any remaining questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And so at this stage, I'll hand it back over to Mary Jessie. And Mary Jessie, if you want to begin feeding us the questions to the panel.
Okay, thanks so much, Bacon. Our first question is, as someone coming from outside the bubble and living off campus, will there be a checkpoint with the university when we arrive?
That's a very good question. It's an important one as well. I mean, the landscape's changing rapidly, but we will have a checkpoint for you coming to Antigonish, and I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth to give you some details on that one.
Mm-hmm. Thanks very much. So the process for returning to campus, if you are required to self-isolate, is we've asked that you submit your plan. So there will have been an email that came out to you last week that includes the online form that we're asking you to fill out to let us know your plans, when you plan to arrive, and where you're planning to self-isolate. And what that is going to do is it's going to enable us to know when you're coming, and it's going to enable us to assign a support person to you so that you have a go-to person if you need anything at all. So someone who can help you get groceries, who can be a liaison for you, and they will be checking in with you when you arrive just to establish your check-in date. We will also be, that is the same person who will be providing you with your green bracelet when you complete your self-isolation period. So yes, there is quite a, oh yeah, Andy's wearing his. He finished up his self-isolation period last week, and I got to drop off the green bracelets to he and Linda. So it's a thing, and how that's going to work is it does give you access to the campus buildings and facilities in September when you arrive. So that will be required of you in order to access the campus. And it's just a way of knowing and ensuring that everyone has gone through the procedures.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Mary Jessie.
Thanks so much. What do you plan to do if there is an outbreak? Will you send students home? I've been informed the hospital is not prepared for us.
That's a great question. Of course, it's one we've worried about all the way through, and we continue to work with public health, Nova Scotia Health, and local physicians to know our path forward. But as I sit and talk to you today, I can tell you that if there is an outbreak, then we'll be working under the advisement of a regional health officer. And that person will coordinate the response of the university in the event that cases start to emerge. So that health officer will coordinate with Nova Scotia Health and local physicians to bring resources to the situation at hand. Now, does that mean the university automatically shuts? No, we have to be under the advisement of public health as we move forward. We will follow their guidelines very, very carefully. And we've been in a lot of conversation with public health. In fact, tomorrow we are with Dr. Strang, the lead public health person in Nova Scotia, talking about our plans further. So that is an emerging piece, but as we sit today, that's the answer. I'll turn to Elizabeth in case I've missed something on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so certainly in addition to meeting with Dr. Strang tomorrow, we have a meeting with provincial Nova Scotia health authorities as well to be really working through what our local needs are going to be and be doing that level of detailed scenario planning. So I know you have questions about this, and it is something that is highly collaborative, involves multiple levels of, involves multiple agencies that I won't go into right now, but it also involves multiple levels of those agencies. So what that means is a lot of meetings and communications in order to get to the level of detail of a plan that we will be able to share with you. But we understand that this is something that's of concern to you, and please know that when we have more detailed plans, we will share those with you, so you can rest assured that you know what will happen. That being said, as Andy mentioned, at the end of the day, it is really a very situational case-by-case basis where public health will look through the details of a specific situation and assess the next steps forward. So we wouldn't necessarily have a really detailed roadmap of every case, but we will have a general approach that we can articulate for you. So with that being said, though, we do have a number of detailed plans. So we have the protocols for students if they need to be tested, how they advise the university, how they proceed for testing, what if they need to go into quarantine, if they're in residence, where they quarantine. We have spaces available if they're not able to quarantine in their room. So those details are very well in hand, and you can find those already in the Return to Campus plan for students if you're curious to see that initial level of planning. And then the other level will be the phased approaches as we move through the term.
Thanks, Elizabeth. One aspect to add to this, as we sort of talk about it, is the importance of self-monitoring. As a member of the community, if you've got a fever, if you've got a cough, you don't feel well, self-check, and if in doubt, go and get advice or help. We have set up ways to do that, but it really, the initial part is on you as an individual. Make that call. Don't put others at risk, make the call. And so self-checking every day, self-monitoring is part of our overall strategy. And there's a lot of emphasis being placed on that as we go forward.
The next question. What does the MOU actually state? And what consequences could potentially follow as a result of the contents of that MOU?
That is another great question. And from the perspective of the students, I'm going to invite Sarah to begin that one.
Well, it's kind of hard to say what exactly the MOU states because it is 8 pages right now. We sent it out to students, I think last week, so students were able to look at it and have a say and be able to kind of give their feedback. Yeah, I think Elizabeth did a pretty great overview of the whole thing, but maybe if there's a way that we can get the MOU sent out to the participants in this, I don't know if that would be a thing. Cindy, if you're able to help out with that, maybe the people can be reading it if they're not a student, we're able to access it in their Outlook.
I believe it's actually attached to the meeting invitation in your Outlook calendar. Take a look at that and just look at the top, just under the subject line. I think you can see it there.
The next question, why continue with the waiver when you will have an MOU? What happens if I refuse to sign the waiver?
Again, great question. The waiver forms part of our overall framework of protection for the university and for the community. It's been considered in depth by our board as we've gone forward, and we've sought more than one legal opinion as to why we should put it in. I know it's an unusual document, but it's thought that enabling us to have students returning to campus, we needed to have that level of protection in place. The big part that could be forgiven for going down the wrong path with the waiver is, does it absolve the university of its responsibilities to create that safe environment? And the answer to that is absolutely not. We will do everything we can with our student colleagues to produce that safe environment. And the MOU is the important part that explains. There's a waiver here, but never forget that these are our commitments to create that safe environment. I wish there was an easier way for waivers to be written that don't really sound so intense, but it's a pretty common aspect now of all operations. Whether you go to the dentist, whether you go to a nail salon, I understand, you must sign these sorts of waivers. They're becoming part of this new landscape. None of us like it. None of us really appreciate it. But we're trying our best here to really explain why it has to be there and why we've gone to this extra level and working with our students to produce a document that says these are our commitments in very plain language. Sarah, is there anything you'd like to add to that one?
No, I don't think so. There is a lot of information. It's hard to get through all of the many different campus plans and the campus plans that are continuously coming out, such as the outbreak plan that Elizabeth kind of alluded to earlier. That's a lot of documentation. That's a lot of material. It's really hard for students to make an informed decision when there's hundreds of pages to look through. We get that, and we 100% understand why that's not accessible for students. So kind of the point of the MOU is to have a condensed version of every single document and all of the promises that the university is making for students, as well as what the students need to do to make sure that we're keeping our campus safe, so that when they do have the decision to sign the waiver or not, they're making an informed decision and they're able to make the best decision for them.
The waiver is an important element of what we do, and to be very blunt about the consequences of not signing the waiver, you will need it signed in order to continue with your registration at university. Now, if you decide not to go forward with that, there are other options for you to explore, but that is the requirement we're putting in place for students to return. That and signature on the code of conduct that we're putting forward. And I've already explained to you what we believe the importance is of that code of conduct, because it is a shared responsibility that we're taking to create this safe environment for StFX.
Thank you. I didn't see anything in the MOU that addresses testing. I feel strongly that any student or staff who has relevant symptoms should be able to have a free test with rapid results. The best way to make sure the virus is contained if it is here. What are your plans on this?
I'm going to hand that one straight over to Elizabeth because she has some information on that.
Yes, so StFX and the student union would not be able to include that in the MOU because the testing is actually under the jurisdiction of both public health for the decisions and the strategy around testing and Nova Scotia Health on the implementation of those strategies. So that is work that we will be doing with them. And so we have had some experience with that. So in the spring, when we first learned of the virus, we did have some students who were experiencing symptoms. So we were able to move them through the process. So the students would, if they are symptomatic or staff, be directed to call 811 where you would be assessed for your symptoms. And if you reach a threshold of symptoms and circumstance, you would then be referred for a free test that is administered. So we have a testing center here in Antigonish, very close by. And then they will be, you would be swabbed and then they would be in touch with you to let you know your results. So that is what we are working again with public health and Nova Scotia Health to make sure that we have very strong protocols for moving students safely and efficiently through that process.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Great. If things are okay and there are not any cases, when will visitors to campus be allowed?
Now, that one, we still fall under the whole of the public health sort of scope of interest. And so at the moment, visitors from outside the Atlantic bubble are subject to that 14-day isolation period. We are encouraging, again, to try and maintain a safe local environment, a lack of travel. We've said to our faculty and staff, all of the administration team, don't travel in the fall semester. We want to try and create that safety. We want our students to do the same. I know the semester will be a long time without being able to travel away. But again, it's a shared responsibility we're trying to put in place. The lack of travel, the lack of additional contacts will add another element of safety to our plans. And that's under our control. It's under everyone's individual control to do that. So the technical answer is that from those outside the Atlantic provinces, at the moment, you still have to isolate for 14 days if you are visiting. If you go out of the Atlantic provinces to come back in, you will have to isolate for 14 days on your return. That may change. At the moment, we don't know that. But we are advising strongly to minimize all additional contacts to the best of your ability. That is what the university staff, faculty, administration will be doing, and we're encouraging everyone to follow suit.
Specifically in regard to the waiver as opposed to the MOU, how has it been revised to reflect the legal considerations that have been raised, including those from the Minister of Advanced Education?
We took the waiver in our consideration period and obtained second legal opinions on it. The board considered all of that input, including commentary that were made by various parties, including the Minister, and we ended up with our final document. It is unchanged from the original document, but it's not to say that other paths weren't considered. At the end of the day, the document that we obtained has benefited from expert advice from many legal parties, and there is comfort in the language that it uses moving forward. So we have gone through a process of consultation, we have listened, and we have taken back all of the information for consideration to arrive back at that original document.
Great, thank you. When will the Keating Center gym be open?
I'll turn that one over to Andrew Beckett, our VP Finance and Administration.
Good evening, everybody. We're currently in phase 2 of our campus reopening plans. And that's a staged process of bringing our employees and researchers back onto campus. Part of phase 2 is we are looking at some of the public spaces on campus. The Keating Center, Saputo Center are part of that. We're in the process of putting ice back in the Keating Center at present. So it will be, we're planning on having it open as early as next week. As far as the gym goes in the Saputo Center, we're looking at, again, a staged reopening of it, mostly geared to our students and campus community. And we expect that to be in place towards the latter part of August so that it's available for students when they come back on campus.
Thank you, Andrew.
Great. Given that COVID-19 has impacted the Community Code of Conduct, where can an up-to-date copy of the Code of Conduct be accessed? The copy currently available on the StFX website under Student Life is dated December 2nd, 2019.
The latest Code of Conduct will be sent out in a version for signature under DocuSign, and that will likely happen on August the 4th. But I'll turn over to Elizabeth to talk about the details of that one.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So, yes, we will be, the community code, the Senate had added basically one statement to the community code, which essentially outlined that any violations of either the health or the administrative protocols that were outlined in the pandemic plans would constitute a major offense under the community code. So it's basically one line that will be added to the community code. And you're absolutely right, we need to get that updated. So thank you for that. We'll get that updated. So, but as Andy said, that COVID-19 pandemic plan student community guidelines document, it goes into detail about what that means and really outlines for you the different health protocols that will be in place to guide you through the coming year. So it is like an amplification of that one new line in the Community Code of Conduct. So we will be posting that, but you will have those details. As Andy said, they were sent to you earlier in July, and they will be sent to you again on August 4th for your signature, so that you'll have an opportunity once again to read them and acknowledge them.
Great, thanks, Elizabeth. I am coming from Ontario to self-isolate on August 27th. Will my parents be able to enter the residence or even campus to help me move in?
Elizabeth,
I'll take that one. Yes, so yeah, we will be allowing a parent to come and help you move into the campus. If your parents are not going to be staying to self-isolate, the province has confirmed that your parents can drive you, and they are permitted to stay overnight and then immediately leave, but they need to be making sure that they're self-isolating and not moving around in the community during their very short stay with us. If they do want to stay for longer than that one night for rest, they would be required to stay for the full 14 days of self-isolation. So, and we have lots of detail about that on our website under the COVID-19 section and the FAQs. There's quite a lot of detail there. If you're interested, have a look there. And if you have any issues finding it, let us know and we can make sure you get that.
Okay, thank you. I know you've spoken about the August 4th email that will be coming out. So these couple of questions may be answered by that. Is there an email being sent out so we can sign the waiver? And are students still expected to sign the waiver by the due date, or will a new version be coming out?
The document coming out on August the 4th will be recognition that the waiver and the student code of conduct needs to be signed. The deadline we're anticipating for the signature on those DocuSign documents, and that's the special format we're sending in order to get a legitimate signature from students, will be August the 14th. August the 14th for the deadline. August the 4th, expect the communication of the waiver and the student code of conduct.
Great, thank you. Will common rooms and kitchens in residence be open?
Elizabeth.
Yes, so all of the spaces on campus essentially have been adjusted to enable for physical distancing. So the rooms will be open, but they will have reduced occupancy. That's to keep us in accordance with public health.
During the 2-week isolation period, will students and residents be able to go outside to get exercise?
Mm-hmm. So yes, we're working through what that's going to look like, but yes, we will have a plan to enable those of you who are self-isolating with us to get outside and get some fresh air. It will have to be, we'll have to have a fair bit of structure around that, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So we will be doing our very best to make your stay comfortable. The student union and student services has been partnering and our academic services team as well to be providing lots of programming and some virtual social engagement, and then that exciting period outside when you can get some fresh air. So we are working hard to make that as engaging and for you as possible. I will make a note, we've had some people who are a little bit confused by this. This self-isolation period is not something that the university is imposing. It's actually a requirement of public health. It is a law of the province of Nova Scotia that any student coming from outside must self-isolate for 2 weeks. So to help students with that, we are providing you with accommodations, 3 meals a day, laundry service, a support person, lots of programming to try to make that as comfortable as possible and to take away any barriers that that required self-isolation by the province may entail for you. So, that's just important that you know that, I think, because we've had some emails from people to say, why are you making me do this?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Those outside the Atlantic bubble. Now, I have some sympathy because I've gone through it myself. And look upon it a different way. Here's an opportunity to get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Get to know what you're studying. Think about your courses, but also have some fun. Be prepared for those 14 days, right? Think about what you want to achieve in those 14 days. Come in with a game plan. We'll be there to help you as you go through it. Don't just come in thinking, oh, I just got to get through this. Have a game plan. Try and achieve your goals as you go through this. Preparing yourself for study. We'll help you with that as you go through. It could be a really good stepping stone. And again, I know you're probably not looking forward to it. I certainly wasn't. But at least I got a few really good books read as I went through that time. So make the most of it if you can.
Thank you. They'll be asking for your reading recommendations on web. Why does the waiver absolve the university of the responsibilities that are listed in the MOU?
The language of the waiver is strict legalese. And again, it's hard to put that into terms where it doesn't sound like it is absolving us of responsibilities. I assure you it does not. That is the reason why we created the MOU. We want to affirm to the community that we stand by our commitments to make a safe environment. And the group that we're working with to co-create that was our Students' Union, because we need to give them that assurance. We need to give them that trust that we are there doing everything we can to create that safe environment. Sarah, is there an element of that you would like to add?
I think you covered it, yeah.
Okay. Do Ontario students have to arrive on campus by August 30th?
Elizabeth?
Yes. So basically the first day of classes is September 14th. So you need to be able to self-isolate for 14 days. So now we will have, we've arranged for most students to be planning to arrive by August 28th and 29th. So there would have been an email that you would have received a number of days ago, last week sometime, that would have given you the schedule of when you should arrive according to the residence to which you've been assigned. So have a look in your email for that, and have a look at the time. If some of you have already booked your flights and so on, and that time doesn't work for you, please get in touch with us and let us know, and we will work something out for you.
Will there be an option for live streaming on campus courses for students who choose not to go to campus in the fall?
Now, as we went into this planning process and looking at our academic activity, a task force was created to look to see what we could put online. And I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Walmsley, our Vice President Academic and Provost, to give you better an explanation of what we've been able to achieve in that regard. Dr. Walmsley.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Yes, that's an excellent question. In a perfect world, and I see some other questions that are percolating. Why aren't we offering a complete section of online courses for those who can't attend campus and classes? Why can't we live stream everything? It takes a significant technological capacity to live stream everything, and we do not have that technical capacity to live stream. However, when we did make the choice to come face-to-face, based on the idea that the majority of students would be attending face-to-face, we ended up at a number of 70% of our courses would be face-to-face. And normally we are just around 90 to 93% of our courses are face-to-face. And so we have a significant number of online courses. 30% of them are available. We don't have a live streaming capacity, and so those face-to-face is face-to-face. There is no option to be able to log in because the classrooms don't have those technical possibilities. And so people who cannot attend face-to-face classes will take online courses. And you'll say, well, I can't possibly cover all that I need to. And that may be true. So the first thing that you do is try to cover your courses online with StFX. And we have a team, several teams of people who are there to assist you with the process. We encourage people to try StFX first. We will also have a list of Maple League courses that will count as well. But thirdly, and very importantly, it's important to look at the opportunities elsewhere for parallel courses, other universities. And we have a process for that. And academic advisors will assist you, particularly returning students who have graduating needs. But if you're a first-year student, our academic advisors will help you to select anything that you can't get online at other universities. And we have a process called a letter of permission that will enable you to take those courses, and they will count towards your StFX degree. So as of this week, we have 6 people who are working directly with you to assist you in obtaining online courses and a full slate of them.
Thank you, Dr. Walmsley.
Great. If Nova Scotia removes the self-isolation period for people from outside the Atlantic bubble, will StFX still require students to isolate before being allowed on campus?
That's the question we've heard before, and it's a good one because it's obviously top of people's mind. Is the Atlantic bubble going to be burst to open up all provincial boundaries to Nova Scotia? We don't know. We will follow whatever guidance public health gives in that regard. I do not want to say that without doubt, if the Atlantic bubble bursts, there won't be additional requirements put in place by public health. I'm sorry to say it really is a wait and see to find out what the announcements are. As we sit here today, what we know is that the Atlantic bubble is in place. We commit to communicate with you everything we know that will ease your journey to StFX as we go forward. That's the best we can do right now.
Okay. What if a student has to arrive early before their check-in date because that is their only ride? Can they stay with someone for a couple of days and then go into residence?
Elizabeth?
So the question, the answer to that is really, it depends. Like, it depends on your situation. If you are required to self-isolate, if you're a person who's required to self-isolate, I strongly recommend that you file your self-isolation plan, and a member of our team will call you and walk you through that, because you will be required to follow very strict self-isolation protocols in the place that you are staying. And then we would look at that on a case-by-case basis to determine if we would still be able to accommodate you in the residence. So yes, that's a question that we would evaluate, a very specific one. We'll respond to you offline on that one.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Will self-isolating students be able to interact with other self-isolating students in the residence during the 2-week period?
Again, over to Elizabeth, who's been crafting plans in this area.
Yeah, and this is where I'll also invite my student union colleagues to chime in, because there's been a lot of work happening to organize lots of ways for our self-isolating students to interact with each other virtually, both while they're in the residence on the campus, and also with students from other universities as well. So I'm just going to actually invite Keelan or Jack or whoever the appropriate person is to speak to some of the plans that they have already established for that.
Siobhan, I know that you're in the. Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, I can go here. So yes, so during the self-isolation, students won't have a full ability to interact in person, but we are developing a lot of programming and different events that will be done online, that they'll be able to interact with other students in their building. Already, we are going through with the XNU mixers. These are online mixers that give incoming students the ability to meet the student leaders in their building before they arrive to campus, and to interact and meet other incoming students that they'll have the chance to be living in a building with. So moving forward from there, we're really going to continue to develop this programming and develop all these different events and mixers to give students the opportunity to be able to interact with each other. And as the semester goes on, we're going to continue to promote and create more and more events that will give students the opportunity to interact with each other further.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks so much. What kind of changes can we expect to see with dining services this year? How will and Bloomfield Cafeteria be handled to reduce the risk of spreading disease?
Andrew, over to you on that one, I think.
Sure. I guess there'll be a few layers of changes that people will see when it comes to our food service side of things. First of all, the most obvious will be reduced capacity in all of the areas where they're seating. So meal hall will be about approximately half the seating that we normally have in that area. Same with the Bloomfield cafeteria and the other on-campus dining options. In terms of the type of food service in those operations, particularly in meal hall, students will notice that there is no buffet style food service in those areas. It'll all be plated service. And the other thing that I think you'll notice throughout all of the food service areas is an increased emphasis on cleaning and sanitization. That there'll be throughout the course of meal times, there'll be a lot more cleaning and sanitization going on of the eating areas to make sure that they're kept properly in shape for students as they cycle through the meal times. I think they're the main changes. Other than that, we fully expect to be able to accommodate students' needs on campus through some extended hours in some of the food service operations and having the variety that we've got available on campus.
And just remember, when students are off campus and you're out of self-isolation, try and keep to the same sort of protocols. Think about your social distancing. Think about what you're doing with your hand washing, all of those things when you're out about in the community. It's as important off campus as it is on campus. So just try and apply what you're doing with us into the community every time you go out. That way we will keep that safe environment.
Okay, thank you. Is there a plan or perhaps of action that outlines the steps or actions that the university / the hospital in Antigonish will take if a student gets sick and needs medical help beyond quarantine? When will parents know what this is, as many students will be leaving soon to arrive in Antigonish?
Yeah, and we are actively working on those plans, and I'm going to hand that straight to Elizabeth. It is an area of a lot of consultation with both public health, Nova Scotia Health, and local physicians. So Elizabeth, perhaps a few more details on that one, please.
Sure. So, as you may be aware, we have plans for our resident students to either isolate and quarantine in their residences if their residence enables them to have their own access, like the access to their own washroom facilities. If a student is in a residence which does not have access to their own washroom facilities, we will move you into a quarantine area that we have set aside for you that gives those proper facilities for care and control. We will be assigning a case manager to each student who is in a quarantine or in isolation for that matter. And that caseworker is there to support you with your food, with your personal care needs, be providing regular check-ins and supports, be a contact person for parents who are looking for someone to speak to, in addition to their student, to be that kind of second point of contact for you. So that is in place. The other aspect of this that's very important to know is that it's actually public health will be doing the ongoing monitoring. So when a student tests positive, public health does a daily screening and assessment of the individual. So they will be contacting your student daily to assess their symptoms and ensure that if their symptoms are escalating and they are reaching the point where the level of care available in quarantine is not sufficient to their needs, they will trigger the point at which we would then move the student to St. Martha's Hospital or other facilities within the region that are available to provide that level of hospital care. Statistically, we understand from our medical colleagues that the vast majority of students who are in this age group can expect to be either asymptomatic or experience mild to moderate symptoms, but we do have that monitoring and assessment in place through public health if the symptoms escalate.
Thanks so much. Why does the waiver absolve the university of the responsibilities that are listed in the MOU? If the waiver releases the university from its responsibility, then does the MOU mean nothing? Or the MOU, sorry, mean nothing?
No, the MOU doesn't mean nothing. It really solidifies the trust between administration and the students' union, and therefore all students. Bottom line, if we can't follow through on our obligations, we really shouldn't be in a position to work forward and have that trust that the public places in us to run the university. We will follow our obligations. We will solidify those obligations in the form of the MOU, and we will go forward. The waiver is a legal document that supports the way in which the university must run forward in inviting students back to community. It's an unusual step. We appreciate it. However, in an environment in which it is likely there will no longer be insurance for any entity to deal with COVID-19, this is one of the measures that our board has asked us to put in place, and we will follow through with that one. But our trust, we recognize, the trust, that you place in us, we recognize has to be strong. I assure you, we are committed to doing everything we can in working with our student partners to produce that safe environment. We will meet, if not exceed, every expectation on what has to be done in terms of putting in that safe environment. And I don't want to speak on behalf of Sarah, but that document and MOU from our perspective is a very important statement of trust. It's the way we want to do business.
If I may, Andy, as well, just to point out that as the return to campus plans for students, for staff, for faculty, for research have been developed, those have been developed in accordance to standards that are articulated by our governing bodies through Labor and Advanced Education, the Department of Occupational Health and Safety, as well as Public Health. So Public Health has created the laws that guide our ability to operate. So we have to be able to ensure that we are set up so that we can maintain physical distancing, that we can ensure the public health and safety of the people on the campus. So that is the other aspect of this that I think it's important for people to realize, is that there's those governing bodies are in turn setting the standards to which we are required to be accountable. And we are providing this documentation for you, and we are also providing it to satisfy their standards. So these are the reasons for the meetings that we're having with Dr. Strang, who's been reviewing our plans. Occupational Health and Safety and LAE have been reviewing our plans. The documents have been going back and forth to make sure that we are meeting the high standards that they have established. So that is an additional assurance, I think, to our entire community that we are accountable for health and safety.
Just to jump in on that from a student perspective, the MOU creates a guideline that the university has promised that they will be following, and all of these protocols that they're promised to follow. The MOU creates a framework that the Students' Union can help watch and monitor and make sure that us as the Students' Union will be representing our students and making sure that we're holding the university accountable for all of these things. And that's why it's great to have it in kind of a short condensed document, so we know exactly what we have to be watching and monitoring. Just to, it's really hard, and we want to make sure that every step of the way we're following through on all of the guidelines.
That's well said, Sarah. It is a document co-created that holds each party accountable to what they say. And we need to work with each other to make sure that things will go in the right direction. But that's the importance. Thank you, Sarah, for that.
We are coming quite close to the end of our hour, so we'll probably have time for a couple more questions. Want to reassure everyone that we will record the questions that have been put in the question and answer box, and those will be answered in a timely manner. The next question, will students be tested during their quarantine? If not, how will asymptomatic cases be found or tracked?
Elizabeth, may I ask you to sort of give what you know?
Yeah, so this is why I do recommend that you take a chance to read through how we've laid out the return to campus plan. So you'll see that we have a series of protocols that are there that focus primarily on prevention. So if a student is carrying the virus, they're asymptomatic, they don't know, we don't know. If that student is following the physical distancing, if that student is practicing hygiene, if the student is wearing a mask, or if any of us, it could be me, it could be a staff person. So if we are all following those public health guidelines that we've put in place, those will act as preventative measures for our whole community. And this is why we're spending so much time focusing on this side of it. So there is that prevention piece. The other aspect of this then is response. So if we are finding community spread, we will be working with public health to do the contact tracing. So if a student is asymptomatic but is out in the community, through the contact tracing, we will be able to identify the students who may be carriers, even though they don't realize it. And then public health will enable us to get them referred for testing and then into self-isolation as it's needed. So again, it's not a one-step process. It's the two aspects of prevention and response working together that will enable us to manage and monitor asymptomatic students.
Great, thank you. As someone coming from outside the maritime bubble, what are the things we will need to enter the maritime provinces? A copy of our lease, a copy of the waiver?
There's a number of different things. One of the things you'll be asked if you come in via air is, where will you be staying during the isolation period? And there are protocols in place as you enter a major port of entry to identify your whereabouts if you need to go into self-isolation. Those are some of the things, details perhaps, Elizabeth, from you?
Mm-hmm. So it's very important, again, to take a read through the documents that we've provided. So check the COVID-19 website. But the other aspect too that is important to check is the province of Nova Scotia. So the provincial website for COVID-19 does provide you with a form that you can access, and it provides you with the guidance around all of the documents that you should have. And again, it's one of those, it depends where you're coming from too. If you're an international student, there would be an entirely different level of documentation that you would need. So please check the information. If you're still feeling like you need some clarification, please get in touch and we can help you with that.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm mindful of the time. We said we'd run for an hour. It's just after 8 o'clock now. I want to start by thanking you for your questions. We are committed to try and answer as many questions as we can in moving forward. Part of our MOU with our students is to commit to ongoing communication about preparing the campus for student return. We will answer your questions. We'll ensure that we will get answers to you. I want to now say thank you to Sarah and her team for being with us tonight. Thank you, Sarah, for co-hosting with me. Pleasure working with you again. Looking forward to the year ahead together. We've got a lot of challenges to get through, but we're going to get there. Thank you. And to my own team, thanks for spending the time with us. Thanks for your clarity of approach. Much appreciated. Now, I just want to remind everybody one more time, documents coming your way. August the 4th, you can expect, we hope, that you'll see a finalized version of the MOU for your information that will be signed off by Sarah, President of the Student Union, and myself as President and Vice Chancellor of the University. Secondly, you will see a waiver document sent out for your signature. Thirdly, you will see the COVID-19 pandemic protocol document also for your signature. The signature on the last two documents, we anticipate a deadline of August the 14th. I know that's a lot of information. We're here to help and trying to clarify as we go on. These are complicated times. We look forward to trying to give you as much information you need in order to make the best decision about coming to StFX. We're looking forward to having you here. Safe travels. Thank you.
I think watching the numbers go down is very cool to watch. Anyone else feel like?
Oh my goodness, there are so many questions. 114 tonight.
How many were not last week? Oh God, it feels like a lifetime. On Monday.
Yeah, I think it was closer to, Kyler could probably tell us, I think it was closer to 68, but there were 114.
Yeah, I think we had less left, but there was definitely more questions tonight.
Yeah, and a lot of repeats. I'm just skimming them, but like really detailed. So
yeah. So I've copied, and I will send a copy of all questions to Kyler and Cindy for their action. So you'll probably hear from them with
that's
needing
great.
some help with answers.
Great
Mary
job emceeing, MJ.
Great job, Mary Jessie. Really appreciate that. I neglected to thank you in front of everyone. That's my mistake. Thank you so much.
That's no problem at all. It's fun.
Thank you.
MJ, my favorite thing is when you call it a
When I call it a
moo. Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Not good. Ian might be proud of me, but not good.
Yes, I just saw that Ian was accepted to something. What is that?
He just got a job with Trow Nutrition as a dairy man, dairy something. I can't even remember the title, but it's actually selling animal feed solutions for dairy farmers.
That's so cool.
Oh.
Scotia and in Western PEI. Yeah, so he's pretty lucky.
Oh, Western PEI, that's where I grew up.
You can ship him off to all those farms over there.
Oh yeah, I can tell him all the good places and which ones to stay away from.
All right, yeah. I think I'm just gonna jump off the call, but for any participants that are still left, I put my email down below in the chat. If you have anything left that you want to say for the MOU that you think that is missing from it, it's in your email, and my email is su_pres@stfx.ca, and I will make sure that we're bringing all those concerns forward when we make our final draft of the MOU, which is so exciting. We're on draft 10 right now, which is crazy.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
That's awesome. Have a good night.
Yeah,
You too,
thanks.
Greg.
Thanks so much.
Night.
Thanks.